beautiful for spacious skies or amber waves of grain, for purple mountain majesties above the fruited plain. America, America, God shed his grace on thee, and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea. Oh, beautiful for heroes proved in liberating strife, who more than selves their country loved, and mercy more than life. America, America, God shed his grace on thee, and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea. America, America.
Thank you, Musical Theater of Anthem. That was an absolutely lovely rendition of America the Beautiful. My name is Carolyn Hiron. I serve as chairperson for the Anthem Community Council. We continue our pre-ceremony with the presentation of the service branch wreaths by veterans and veterans' families. The wreaths honor and remember those killed in action, those missing in action, and those veterans who are no longer with us.
It might be easy to forget it was the Miracle Mets who won the series back in 1969. It seemed to happen all so soon after NASA put the first man on the moon, and later Nixon would resign. You might have lost your grasp on a thing or two you learned in 8th grade class, but don't let this slip your mind. Remember the falling when you see Old Glory wave. Give a thought about the bold and brave and the endless rows of graves. Remember to stop somewhere along the way. Give gratitude for a debt you can't repay, for every last one to go down. Remember the fallen, the ones who gave their lives for the life you're living now. It might be easy to forget it was the Miracle Mets who won the series back in 1969. It seemed to happen all so soon after NASA put the first man on the moon, and later Nixon would resign. You might have lost your grasp on a thing or two you learned in 8th grade class, but don't let this slip your mind. Remember the falling when you see Old Glory wave. Give a thought about the bold and brave and the endless rows of graves. Remember to stop somewhere along the way. Give gratitude for a debt you can't repay, for every last one to go down. Remember the fallen.
Please stand and remove your hats for the invocation, followed by the singing of the national anthem by United States Coast Guard Petty Officer, First Class Michael Gallagher. Heavenly Father, We thank you for this opportunity to assemble in freedom to honor our veterans and those serving our armed forces today. We stand in support of their families and ask you give them strength as they too serve and sacrifice for this nation. Support those who suffer wounds, both seen and unseen. Comfort the families who have lost a loved one in the line of duty and those who wait for a loved one to return home. Provide each of us the wisdom to honor, salute, and support those who have served, those who serve today, and their families every day of the year. Amen.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Please be seated. On behalf of the Anthem Community Council, happy Veterans Day. Welcome to the newly expanded Anthem Veterans Memorial. It is my great honor to introduce our Mistress of Ceremonies, a United States Air Force veteran and a longtime supporter and friend of the programming at the Anthem Veterans Memorial. Please welcome retired Lieutenant Colonel Amber Cargyle.
Good morning. Isn't this a beautiful Arizona day? And it's the perfect day for us to gather here at this memorial, which is an Arizona historic landmark, and honor, salute, and support our veterans and their families. Veterans Day first started as Armistice Day, honoring those who had served in World War I. After World War II, the name was changed to Veterans Day, but the date, November 11th, has remained the same. The Anthem Veterans Memorial honors this history symbolically each year with a perfectly timed solar spotlight at 11:11 a.m. And that's the time that the armistice was signed on November 11th at the end of World War I. Veterans Day is designated as a day to honor and thank all of those who have served our nation honorably, both in wartime and in peacetime. Armed Forces Day, which is celebrated on the third Saturday in May, is set aside to honor the men and women who are currently serving our country in uniform. However, here at the Anthem Veterans Memorial, we honor and salute all of those who have served in the past as well as today. We also take this day to honor our military families and we pay tribute to each of our service branches and take note of some of the significant events in our nation and our military's history. The memorial behind me serves to honor, salute, and support you all every day of the year, and especially today on Veterans Day. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 2023 Veterans Day ceremony. And now, please welcome to the stage the Anthem Veterans Memorial founder, retired Navy Rear Admiral Ron Tucker, who will say a few words about the memorial and its expansion.
Wow. Good morning. Beautiful day. Thanks, Colonel. Nobody anticipated how quickly the Circle of Honor at the Anthem Veterans Memorial would fill up with engraved pavers. The original 2,400 bricks are almost completed, and we needed to expand the circle so that we could honor more veterans. So we've added 3,000 more pavers, which we hope will fill up faster than the original 2,400. Some of the original project volunteers returned to assist with this, expansion project. Jim Martin, the chief engineer, did the design. Dan Cleland, landscaping, and Renee Palmer Jones, who was the original designer. The expansion project could not have taken place without the support of the Anthem Community Council, and especially Hayden Building Corporation and their leaders, Steve Sievert and Mark Eklund, who are sitting right here. These guys did the original job, and they're just awesome. Many individual donors, businesses, and nonprofits, including the Daisy Mountain Veterans and the Rotary Club of Anthem, contributed nearly $90,000, over half the cost of this project. Thank you. Now I'm going to go off script. I'm probably going to get in trouble for this, so. There's one person who led the fundraising effort and organized this event today and ceremonies for the last many years. Please help me thank the indispensable Liz Turner. Liz. We couldn't be here without Liz, trust me. Now it's my honor to introduce the Vice Regent of the Daughters of the American Revolution, Arizona State, the Vice Regent, Sarah Zeiker, who will say a few words about the memorial's first historic marker. Sarah.
Thank you. To honor the 250th anniversary of the birth of our nation, the Daughters of the American Revolution bronze commemorative markers are being placed across the country to honor the brave men and women of the Revolutionary War who fought to found our country. The marker at the Anthem Veterans Memorial, presented by the Ocotillo chapter of the DAR, is the first in Arizona. On behalf of the DAR, I am proud to dedicate the America 250 Patriot Marker to the Anthem Veterans Memorial. Thank you.
The efforts of so many people, as we just heard, have once again made the Anthem Veterans Memorial truly the pillars of pride for our community, for the state of Arizona, and for our entire nation. In talking to some of the folks that are here today, we know some of you have traveled in from across the country just to be here for this event today, and so thank you for that, and welcome to you all. And now it's time to formally recognize our veterans by their respective service branches. To do so, I'm going to need to hear your singing voices. Now, I say this every year, and yet sometimes I still can't hear you when I'm up here. So please, when your service branch is called, stand with pride, if you're able, and join the musical theater of Anthem as they sing your service branch song. And for those of you in the audience who are not veterans, please show your support too. Please sing along with them. And just in case you need a little help, the lyrics are going to be projected up on the screen. So there's no excuses, and we'll be watching you. So don't be shy now. Let our veterans know how much we support them.
United States Army veterans, please stand to be honored.
First to fight for the right and to build the nation's might, and the army goes rolling along. Proud of all we have done, fighting till the battle's won, and the army goes rolling along. Then it's hi, hi, hey, the army's on its way. Count off the cadence loud and strong. For where'er we go, you will always know that the army goes rolling along.
Thank you, Army veterans. You may be seated. United States Marine Corps veterans, please stand to be honored.
From the halls of Montezuma to the shores of Tripoli, we will fight our country's battles in the air, on land and sea. First to fight for right and freedom, and to keep our honor clean. We are proud to claim the title of United States Marine.
Thank you, Marine veterans. You may be seated. United States Navy veterans, please stand to be honored.
Anchors away, my boys, anchors away. Farewell to college joys, we sail at break of day. Through our last night on shore, drink to the foam. Until we meet once more, here's wishing you a happy voyage home.
Thank you, Navy veterans. You may be seated. United States Air Force veterans, please stand to be honored.
Off we go into the wild blue yonder, climbing high into the sun. Here they come, zooming to meet our thunder. Atom boys, give her the gun. Down we dive, spouting our flame from under. Off with one hell of a roar. We live in fame or go down in flame. Hey, nothing will stop the U.S. Air Force.
Thank you, Air Force veterans. You may be seated. United States Space Force veterans, please stand to be honored.
We're the mighty watchful eye, guardians beyond the blue, the invisible front line, war fighters brave and true, boldly reaching into space. There's no limit to our sky, standing guard both night and day. We're the Space Force from on high.
Thank you, Space Force veterans. You may be seated. United States Coast Guard veterans, please stand to be honored.
We're always ready for the call. We place our trust in thee. Through surf and storm and howling gale, high shall our purpose be. Semper Paratus is our guide, our fame, our glory too. To fight, to save, or fight and die, I Coast Guard, we are for you.
Thank you to Musical Theater of Anthem for leading that sing-along. Let's give them a round of applause. And seeing as how I'm an Air Force veteran, it pains me to say this, but I think the award for the loudest, strongest sing-along voice goes to Major General Fields, Marine Corps veteran. Sir, you are a man of many talents. You have a beautiful voice. And before we move on to the next segment, I am going to do a short video that we're going to put out on social media later. So if I can film all of you giving a big Veterans Day cheer as we pan across, I would appreciate that. All right, thank you. Here they come. See how we got you to wave for the surprise? Thank you all so much. And I just have to say, now I'm going to reclaim the Air Force crown on that one, sir. We got it back. That was a great Air Force start to the day today. Those were our pilots from Luke Air Force Base in their F-35. So, sound of freedom. All right. I can't hear you, sir. You're welcome. All right, we're going to just do a quick tribute to all of you in the audience here for a second before we move on to the next portion of our itinerary today. Would all of the men and women who are actively serving in our armed forces or those who plan to enter this year please stand and remain standing? Will all National Guard and Reserve members, past and present, stand with them and remain standing? Will all veterans, past and present, please stand and join them? And lastly, will their family members and surviving spouses of our veterans please rise, because you're part of this tribute today too. Let's give everyone a round of applause. This is why we're here today. Thank you. You can all be seated. At this time, I would like to introduce one of our very own aviators, retired United States Navy Captain Carol Liddon.
Good morning. This year marks the 50th anniversary of women naval aviators. In 1973, the first 8 women began flight school in Pensacola, and 1 year later, 6 of the 8 women, called the First 6, earned their wings of gold. Even after civilian women assisted the military during World War II, history shows aviation was not the catalytic change for women in the military. Women seized opportunities, and where opportunities did not exist, they created them. It is because of their skill and courage the first 6 women aviators proved what women in the air can do for the military. They set a new bar, a much higher bar, for women like me to follow their lead and earn our wings. There is nothing stopping women pilots from achieving their lofty goals. Please look to the screen for a short naval tribute.
In 1973, the first 8 women began flight school in Pensacola.
And 1 year later, 6 of those 8 women, titled the First 6, earned their wings of gold. In the 50 years since, naval aviation has expanded its roles for women to lead and serve globally.
Today, women aviators project power from the sea and sky. We fly in all strike missions,
Hunt submarines, protect the integrity of our nuclear triad,
supply essential cargo and personnel to every corner of the globe,
and rescue those in distress.
We command aircraft carriers,
carrier air wings,
squadrons, and missions to space.
In 2023, we reflect on our naval aviation history and pay tribute to all of our women naval aviators.
Our nation and our Navy are stronger because of our service.
We are
50 years of flight,
50 years of excellence,
50 years of empowerment,
50 years of strength,
50 years of perseverance,
50 years of challenges, 50 years of equal opportunity,
50 years of leadership,
50 years of women in naval aviation.
Thank you. As a retired Navy pilot, I am grateful to have been part of the evolving roles of women taken in the air. While we pay tribute for our naval women aviators who have forged new paths for all of us, I would like to ask that all women military aviators, Army, Marine Corps, Navy, Air Force, Space Force, and Coast Guard and National Guard who have all soared to new heights, please stand to be honored. Thank you. You may be seated.
Thank you, Captain Litton, and thank you, women aviators. Ladies and gentlemen, the table next to me is set to honor prisoners of war and the more than 87,000 veterans who still remain missing in action. This table is highly symbolic. I ask that you take some time later today to stop by the table to learn more about the symbolism and to remember those who remain missing in action as we wait for them to eventually come home. Let's give them a round of applause and thank their families. We are so grateful for the POWs who were able to come back home. We ask now for any POWs who are with us today to please stand to be honored. Speaking of that POW in the front row, let's take a minute to honor him. A beloved Anthem resident and a Korean War and Vietnam veteran, Air Force veteran, I might add, who served nearly 6 years as a prisoner of war in Vietnam. He then continued his career in the Air Force and has become a walking inspiration for all of us. Yesterday, he celebrated his 95th birthday. Audience, can you please stand and join the musical theater of Anthem while we play a birthday celebration song for Colonel Tom Kirk?
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Colonel Kirk. Happy birthday to you.
Now let's take a minute to recognize those veterans who served in World War II. Will any World War II veterans here today please stand or wave your hats to be recognized? And also, let's all wave to those that are celebrating from home. Thank you. Thank you for your service. This year marks the 70th anniversary of the armistice that ended the Korean War. The Anthem Veterans Memorial deeply values the importance of remembering our veterans, their service, their sacrifice, and keeping that memory alive and continuing to educate future generations. On June 25, 1950, North Korean forces crossed the 38th parallel and attacked South Korea. 3 days later, North Korean forces took Seoul, South Korea's capital. The following week, the first U.S. ground troops arrived in South Korea, as did troops from 15 different nations. Nearly 1.8 million Americans served in the Korean War. Almost 40,000 lost their lives there. 92,000 were wounded, and 8,000 are missing. Sadly, those veterans fought in what is often referred to as the Forgotten War. They returned home to indifference because their war was so close to the end of World War II. Few people, even today, fully know the courage of the veterans that fought there. Thanks to our partners with Operation Song, United States Army Korean War veteran Carl Murphy's personal story was turned into song. And we've added some photos from the Korean War to help share the Korean War veterans' experience with you today. Please look to the LED screen.
Just 18 when I shipped out. It was 51 north versus south. I walked into hell the day I hit that shore. An unknown soldier in the Forgotten War. Dodging bullets, disarming minds, savage fighting, the cruelest kind. Like no enemy we've ever seen before. I'm still haunted by the Forgotten War. We came back changed. Came back scarred. Some in body bags and some with silver stars. We ran through fire, half froze to death. Yeah, we saw things we wish we could forget. Even now, it's hard to ignore. those unsung heroes of the forgotten war. No parades when we got home. It was almost like we'd never gone. We've been proud of what we've been fighting for. Never dreamed it would be the forgotten war. We came back changed, we came back scarred. Some embodied bags and some with silver stars. We ran through fire, half froze to death. Yeah, we saw things we wished we could forget. But I remember forevermore the men I served with in the forgotten war. And I hope I'm greeted at heaven's door by all my brothers in the forgotten war. Yeah.
Will all Korean War veterans please stand or wave your hats to be honored? Thank you. This year, we continue to commemorate the 50th anniversary of the Vietnam War. To assist with these honors, please welcome our dear friend, U.S. Army Vietnam War veteran Dennis Salisbury.
It is my honor to introduce Major General Arnold Fields, who retired from the United States Marine Corps after 35 years of active service. The extensive list of Major General Fields' exemplary service and leadership cannot be shared in the time I have today. However, I will provide a few highlights. During the Vietnam War, Major General Fields served with the 3rd Marine Infantry Division. He later served as a senior commander of U.S. forces in Europe, Africa, Hawaii, and Central Command, including commanding a motorized infantry battalion during Operation Desert Storm, as well as a Pentagon tour. After retirement, he received a presidential appointment for assignments in both Afghanistan and Iraq. Major General Fields continues his service in retirement by joining us today as a representative of the Vietnam War commemoration. As a Vietnam veteran, it means a great deal to me and those of you who are served in that area to have such a distinguished veteran to provide the Vietnam War area tribute. Please welcome United States Marine Major General Arnold Fields.
Thank you, Dennis, for that introduction, and thank you for your service, sir. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I thank and honor you all, including the multitude of distinguished guests, our nation's veterans, the men and women currently serving in our armed forces, the military families, and the hundreds here who come to show their support. Thank you all for this opportunity to join you in support of what America is doing to thank and honor our Vietnam-era veterans and their families. I'm honored to join you as a representative of the United States of America Vietnam War Commemoration, which is under the direction of Major General Edward J. Crystal, Jr., United States Army. I bring his most warm regards. 42 million American men and women have served and sacrificed in time of war. More than 1 million gave their lives for our freedom. Their collective service has preserved the treasured concepts embodied in our Constitution. Since the birth of our nation, no single generation of Americans has been spared the responsibility of defending freedom by force of arms. Our nation has a history of thanking and honoring its veterans. Veterans Day is carved out of that long-standing tradition and the enduring fabric of our nation. Sadly, our Vietnam veterans were not properly lauded for their service by our citizenry. Those who served during the Vietnam War returned home to a nation in turmoil, in which the vast majority of you received no recognition. It was a stark contrast to the elated yellow ribbon welcomes and ticker tape parades honoring our military servicemen and women returning from the Gulf War of 1990 and 91. In 2008, Congress committed to begin the process of righting that wrong for Vietnam veterans and their families. The National Defense Authorization Act of 2008 authorized the Secretary of Defense to establish and support the Vietnam War Commemoration. The commemoration is charged with leading the national initiative to commemorate the 50th anniversary of the Vietnam War. I'm honored to join you here on behalf of the commemoration. The President of the United States inaugurated the commemoration on Memorial Day 2012. The commemoration's primary purpose remains to thank and honor America's 6 million Vietnam veterans and the 9 million families of those who served on active duty in the United States military between 1 November 1955 and 15 May 1975. Welcome home, quote unquote, are seemingly simple words, yet holding a remarkable power to uplift and heal. I believe that any American citizen who has traveled abroad is inspired by the welcome home we receive from the U.S. agent who reviews our American passport and clears us for re-entry into the U.S. I certainly am inspired, despite the many times I have gone through that process. Welcome home may be two of the most remembered words of the 44th President of the United States, Barack Obama, uttered in his address at the commemorations inaugural at the Vietnam Veterans Memorial in Washington, D.C., Memorial Day of 2012. From his full address, I extract this poignant excerpt, and I quote, "And one of the most painful chapters in our history was Vietnam, most particularly how we treated our troops who served there. You were often blamed for a war you didn't start when you should have been commended for serving your country with valor. You were sometimes blamed for the misdeeds of a few when the honorable service of the many should have been praised. You came home and sometimes were denigrated when you should have been celebrated. It was a national shame, a disgrace that should have never happened. And that's why here today we resolve that it will not happen again." Unquote, President Obama. Under the pen of President Donald J. Trump, the Vietnam War Veterans Recognition Act of 2017 established Vietnam War Veterans Day to recognize our Vietnam veterans. National Vietnam War Veterans Day join the 6 other annual military-centric national observances codified in law, among them Memorial Day, Independence Day, and Veterans Day. President Biden issued his proclamation this year in which he remarked, and I quote, "Every service member of the Vietnam generation should know that their sacrifices mattered and that their service made a difference to the families, caregivers, and survivors of the more than 58,000 service members whose names are memorialized in the black granite, that is the wall in Washington. We pledge to never forget the eternal sacrifice of your loved ones and what you have sacrificed for the nation." To the families of the over 1,500 service members who remain missing and unaccounted for, know that our nation's efforts to bring them home will never stop. Unquote, the president. The commemoration honors the 9 million Americans who served on active duty in the U.S. Armed Forces during the Vietnam War. No distinction is made between those who served in Vietnam or were stationed elsewhere during the war. All were called to serve. None could self-determine their duty station. Veterans who served during this period earned our nation's profound thanks. More than 58,000 men and women perished in Vietnam. Their average age was 22 years, 9 months. Clearly, there is something about special gatherings like this that stirs our hearts and helps unite and heal those who served. Perhaps it is the memory of those who gave the ultimate sacrifice, or the sobering fact that at least 1,556 service members are still considered missing in action and unaccounted for. Or is it that more than 350,000 American veterans have lingering scars, seen and unseen, from this war? 50 years is a long time to have waited for this recognition. Our nation is finally extending to our Vietnam veterans and their families. During my years as an official senior advisor to the Vietnam War commemoration, my colleagues and I traversed the far corners of the United States in support of recognition ceremonies just like this one. I bear personal witness to the prominent place Vietnam veterans now occupy in the conscience of our nation. I encourage you all to speak to your children and grandchildren about the war. It is time. Share with them what you experienced, how you felt, and what it meant to you. It is important that these generations understand the difficult period in which you served. The very act of sharing will help heal your soul and connect younger Americans to a significant page of America's history. We have been successful in honoring Vietnam War veterans due principally to the more than 12,000 organizations that have come alongside the Department of Defense as commemorative partners with the Vietnam War commemoration. Partners have hosted more than 23,000 events in communities across the country. Americans have been inspired to thank and honor 3.3 million Vietnam veterans and their families. These accomplishments point to the undeniable change in the way Americans view the service and sacrifices of our Vietnam veterans. This lapel pin you have received symbolizes courage, honor, dedicated service, and vigilance. The phrase, "a grateful nation thanks and honors you," is embossed on the reverse side of this pen. Thank you for your warm welcome and your attention. It has been my personal joy to represent the commemoration, its director, and staff. A grateful nation thanks and honors you. Thank you.
Boulder Creek football, we would like to say thank you to our veterans.
Thank you, veterans!
Thank you for your service and welcome home. Thank you for your service and welcome home.
From Boulder Creek Lacrosse to all of our service men and women as well as veterans, we want to say thank you and welcome home.
Thank you!
Thank you for your service and welcome home.
Right.
And thank you for your service, veterans. Welcome home.
Hi, just wanted to say thank you to all of our veterans and welcome home.
Thank you for your service and welcome home.
Welcome home. Thank you for your service. We appreciate you.
Thank you for your service and welcome home.
Welcome home, service members.
Thank you, General Fields, for helping us make the Vietnam War era tribute so memorable this year. At this time, would all Vietnam War era veterans, their surviving spouses, and family members of these veterans please stand to be honored? Welcome home. Before we go to our next tribute, we'd like to point out another wonderful effect that the Anthem Veterans Memorial has on people. It brings us together. There are 3 people here today who met decades ago when they first arrived in Vietnam. They became friends and have remained friends for the last 50 years, and they make it a point each Veterans Day to call each other. Last year, they reunited here at the Anthem Veterans Memorial and attended our ceremony. I'm pleased to announce all 3 have returned to the memorial this year, one coming from Texas, one from California, and the 3rd from here in Anthem. Would Roger Cortez, Gene Hamry, and Jim Corrigan please stand? Thank you, gentlemen. And since I have the microphone, I'd like to give a shout out to my favorite Vietnam veteran, who is my father, retired Air Force Chief Master Sergeant Jerry Gailey, who served in Da Nang. Dad is not able to travel here, but he's watching from home. So please wave to my dad. After the end of the Vietnam War, the U.S. military participated in a number of military operations. In 1990, the U.S. led a coalition of 35 nations in response to Iraq's invasion and annexation of Kuwait. Also known as Operation Desert Shield and Operation Desert Storm, over 470,000 U.S. troops were deployed. Will all veterans who served our nation in times of peace and war from 1975 through the year 2000 please stand to be recognized? Thank you. In 2001, after the events of 9/11, the U.S. entered the war in Afghanistan. In 2003, we began Operation Iraqi Freedom. And this was simultaneous to numerous other U.S. military operations happening around the globe. We continued serving around the world, including the withdrawal from Afghanistan in 2021, At this time, will all of those in the audience who have served since 2001, including those who are serving today, please stand. When the Anthem Veterans Memorial was built, 5 benches, one for each military service branch, were placed to honor the families of our veterans. The Anthem Veterans Memorial understands that the real unrecognized heroes of the military are their family members, who provide support in so many ways that others might not even understand. It's our families who are left to run the house when their spouse is away at training or deployed to some faraway land. Children miss their father or mother in the stands at their games, in the audience at their school plays, and being tucked in at bedtime at night. They wait and treasure every call or email that they get from their loved one. The Anthem Veterans Memorial wants our family members to know how much we support you, we appreciate you, and we value your service and sacrifice. Will all the family members of veterans, past and present, please stand to be honored? Recent events have led many of our armed forces, ships, planes, and troops to reposition or deploy. I'm sure you've seen it on the news. Such events remind us that we have troops stationed all over the world, and sometimes they're in harm's way. We know that there are families here today who have family members deployed. Will those families who have loved ones deployed or members currently serving overseas please stand? Thank you, and I would like to recognize my son-in-law, Army First Lieutenant David Avila, who is deployed overseas right now. Thank you to all of our families. We support you.
We may not yet have reached our glory, but I will gladly join the fight. And when our children tell their story, they'll tell the story of tonight.
They'll tell the story of tonight. Tonight.
Have you ever felt like nobody was there? Have you ever felt forgotten in the middle of nowhere?
Have you ever felt like you could disappear? Like you could fall and no one would hear?
Well, let that lonely feeling wash away.
All we see is
'Cause maybe there's a reason to believe you'll be okay. If you don't feel strong enough to stand, you can reach out your hand.
Raise a glass to freedom, something they can never take away. No matter what they tell you, someone
thank you, Musical Theater of Anthem, for that lovely tribute to our military families. And now you know why I wear the sunglasses. It's to hide the tears. This year, we pay special tribute to the U.S. Coast Guard, as it's the oldest continuous seagoing service with courageous roles that date back to the 1700s and, of course, continue today. Please look to our LED screen as the U.S. Coast Guard made a special video just for us today.
The Coast Guard enforces federal laws at sea, combating drug trafficking, illegal immigration, and violations of fisheries on the U.S. waters and beyond.
We respond to emergencies at sea, rescuing mariners, aiding vessels, and providing disaster relief during times of crisis.
Prevention is a top priority. We ensure safety and environmental standards, inspect vessels, and manage ACE navigation to prevent accidents and environmental disasters.
We also have a crucial role in managing the marine transportation system by facilitating the safe and efficient movement of goods and people, supporting our nation's economy.
The Coast Guard safeguards critical infrastructure, ports and vessels from security threats, enhancing national security.
The Coast Guard is deployed around the globe in support of combatant commanders to protect the security of our nation far from U.S. soil.
For 233 years, your United States Coast Guard has protected America from threats delivered by the sea, has protected those on the sea, and protected the sea itself. Your Coast Guard ensures America's maritime safety, security, and economic prosperity.
And now to introduce our keynote speaker, please welcome back to our stage U.S. Coast Guard Petty Officer First Class Michael Dallager.
I'd also like to quickly go off script here. My dad is a Vietnam veteran. He served from 66 to 69 on a destroyer in the South China Sea during the Vietnam War. I got to lay his paver yesterday. I'm very, very grateful for that opportunity to remember my dad. Thank you. So I met our keynote speaker 15 years ago. In 2009, he transferred to my unit to take over the position of officer in charge. It was his first command. Our bond as shipmates is lifelong now. He's a brother. Mike is a dedicated veteran who chose his current path to continue to work with veterans. He is undeniably one of the brightest, most genuine, dedicated veterans I know who truly cares about making a difference in veterans' lives. Please welcome my dear friend, retired U.S. Coast Guard Chief Warrant Officer Michael Tapp.
Good morning, and thank you all for being at the Anthem Veterans Memorial this morning. This event is a cornerstone of our community, and I'm extremely proud and honored to have been asked to speak today. Why one joins the military is as personal of a story as the man or woman who makes the choice to do so. I enlisted into the Coast Guard at the age of 19 after receiving career advice from a father of a high school friend. I was interested in federal law enforcement. After asking about his path as a federal agent, he suggested that to be employable, pass a degree in criminal justice, I'd be well served to have experience. Well, I was 19 years old. Where the heck was I going to get federal law enforcement experience? When I asked him how, he responded that there were several agents in his office that were prior Coast Guard. It was as if a lighthouse beacon had brightened for me. I recalled that my own grandfather had served in the Coast Guard. He retired as a chief warrant officer, and his military career spanned the Pacific during World War II. Most of what I knew of my grandfather, who had passed before I was born, was centered on his career in the military. My father also served. He was in the Navy during the Vietnam War era. I had a family history of military service, and now my own interest seemed to be taking me down that same path. So I wrapped up a semester of college and enlisted into the Coast Guard, and my military journey began. I graduated from boot camp and was assigned to a boat station in Cape Fear, North Carolina. There, I achieved certifications as a crewman on the unit's motor lifeboat. These are boats designed to plunge into raging surf and rescue mariners in distress engineered to rewrite or flip over if they're capsized by a wave. It's like riding a life-threatening roller coaster with no tracks. My career in the Coast Guard was exceptional. I served ashore and afloat in every capacity I ever could have wanted. I deployed on patrols overseas. I visited remote Pacific islands. I spent winter patrolling the Bering Sea. I enforced U.S. laws and treaties. I commanded men and women. I had a satellite call with a sitting U.S. president. I modernized critical short-range navigation aids. I deployed on joint service law enforcement teams. I saved lives. I seized illegal narcotics. I pulled civilians from burning boats. I interdicted migrants attempting dangerous voyages to reach our shores. Okay, wait a minute. There's only one enormous problem with everything I just said. It was never I. It was we. It was always we. A team, we patrolled the Bering Sea. We interdicted illegal narcotics. We deployed. We saved dozens of lives. We were the men and women of the U.S. Coast Guard that served the same calling to protect our nation and our people. This is something true of all veterans. Whether officer or enlisted, young and independent, I can do anything kid, or the lost and wandering kid, military men and women all learn the value of we and team, embodying no one left behind. After retiring in 2019, Anthem became my first permanent home in years. I will be honest with you, the transition from career military member to becoming a veteran was not easy for me. I struggled. I'm guessing that is true for many veterans sitting here. Though I quickly changed career fields and was successful, on the inside, I was just not the me I had known. I soon found myself at the Anthem VA clinic asking what was going on. I had retired with decorations. We had had a big, fantastic ceremony on a parade field in Los Angeles. I was a happy day. I had achieved everything I had ever wanted from my military service. Yet when it was over, I felt something was wrong. I was having difficulty with the transition. I missed the we. I found solace by joining Daisy Mountain Veterans, and I made great new friends here in Anthem, there and in hobbies that I enjoyed. Remember what I said earlier. It was never I, it was we. We did those things and shared those experiences back when I was active duty, and now I was learning that the we was much larger than I ever knew. We veterans had served in World War II, Korea, Vietnam, the Gulf Wars, Iraq, Afghanistan, Somalia, the war on terrorism, and stateside serving invaluable roles through our combined generations of military campaigns and service. Becoming a veteran, I soon learned was about expanding the population of my we. And I found my crew, my new shipmates, in a population of grunts, squids, zoomies, ground pounders, and of course me, the proud puddle pirate. And let's not forget the crayon-eating Marines. I hear red is a favorite. The veterans of this community, are a special breed. We volunteered to write that blank check. The we's took an oath to defend and protect America and our ways of life, despite where we were from, how we got there, our reasons for doing so, or what nickname we adopted as ours through the service branch we had chosen. We all wore different uniforms, yet all ultimately served the same purpose. And now that we are veterans, we come together for friendship, camaraderie, and support. And yes, to continue to call each other names proudly. Shifting gears, we need to be completely honest with each other today. In the toughest of the battles to support one another, we are gripped with record veteran suicide rates in the United States. This likely isn't news to many of you, as rightfully much attention has been paid to this crisis. In 2020, Congress passed the widely unknown Compact Act. Just funded this year, the Compact Act says, in general, that any former U.S. service member who has obtained veteran status, whether enrolled in VA healthcare or not, can go to any emergency room, VA hospital, or behavioral health hospital anywhere in the United States and receive treatment for suicidal ideations at no cost to that veteran. Again, this law, not widely known, is landmark legislation towards helping the WEs, the veterans whose missions have not ended and whose personal battles endure. As friends, neighbors, and loved ones, we all owe it to these heroes to share this life-saving information shamelessly, which is why I bring it up here today. Please share. And if you seek additional information on the Compact Act, please visit the VA website or contact Daisy Mountain Veterans here in Anthem. You can be part of helping us, as we cannot do it alone. If you are a veteran and you feel awash with thoughts of suicide, this is your motor lifeboat. Thank you again so much for the opportunity to speak today. The veterans present here, thank you for your service. Thank you for being a soldier, sailor, airman, Marine, Guardsman, or Coast Guardsman. Thank you for being one of those that earned the privilege of being us, the WEs, veterans.
The Jim Martin Science, Technology, Engineering, and Math, or STEM, scholarship is named after the AVM chief engineer. It is intended for an Anthem graduating senior who demonstrates exceptional mathematical or engineering abilities, determination, integrity, and community spirit, just like Jim Martin. The recipients this year were Austin St. Pierre, who now attends Arizona State University, and Ainsley O'Connor, who attends Northern Arizona University. And I understand that Austin is here, and I would love it if he would stand up and be honored. Congratulations and continued success with your studies. Thank you. I am also honored to present the Anthem Community Council's Annual Veteran Service Award. This recognition was developed by the AVM Planning Committee in 2012 to thank veterans who continue to serve their community after their service to our country has ended, or to thank community members who volunteer on behalf of veterans. The past recipients of this award are listed on the screen, or they will be soon, I think. This year's award recipient is known to many here today. He epitomizes everything this award was intended to honor. His role as a veteran leader in this community began many years ago. He is one of those veterans who knows only how to say yes, or to ask, "How may I help?" His hands have been in every veteran event and activity in Anthem for years, including Veterans Day and Memorial Day ceremonies, visits to veterans at the federal penitentiary, working with Youth for Troops on many projects, and helping veteran families in need. He assists in the fundraising activities of Daisy Mountain Veterans, including bi-monthly bingo coordination, and has chaired and served on its board for years. He has helped at the Anthem Veterans Memorials on more times than we can count, either behind the scenes or at the podium. As one of the go-to veterans for programming here, the only response he has ever given when asked is absolutely anything you need.
We're going to leave this in suspense because we're about to have the solar spotlight.
Oh, so you don't get to know yet.
So we will pick this up. Sorry, our timing's just a little bit off now. So please, as we approach the 11:11 moment, we ask that you all remain seated. We'll be coming back to complete this important service award and some other items. We know you all want to see it, but for the safety of our cadets and so that everyone here, including our disabled veterans, are able to see, please keep your eye on the LED screen, and we'll be sharing that with you, and then we'll return and pick this up as soon as that is complete. Okay. We'll turn it over to Musical Theater of Anthem. I just said we'll turn turn it over to Musical Theater of Anthem.
God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above. From the mountains to the prairies to the oceans white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home, sweet home.
Isn't that a beautiful seal, the Great Seal of the United States of America? This memorial it runs on military time. It doesn't wait for us, right? So we're glad that we were able to get this on the screen, and now I'm going to turn it back over to Carolyn as we continue our program.
I'll bet you just can't stand the suspense here. His dedication goes far beyond what one sees in Anthem, which places him in an elite veteran service position. It is sharing a cup of coffee or making calls to veterans when a sensitive ear or advice are needed that help our veteran community in ways we will never know. No matter how big or small the task, no matter the time involved, he serves the veteran community and ours. From the nomination, I quote, "Because of this individual's tireless hours and selfless dedication in support of our veterans, Anthem is a much greater place. The Anthem Veterans Memorial activities are elevated due to his assistance, and countless veterans have been positively honored, supported, and saluted by him in ways we may never know." That's the end of the quote. This person does exactly what Chief Warrant Officer Tapp asked of us in his address today and exemplifies how we can make a difference. This year, we salute and present the Anthem Veterans Service Award to United States Army Vietnam War veteran, our friend and inspiration, Dennis Salisbury. Dennis, we salute you. Please come forward.
Congratulations, Dennis. We were happy to build a little suspense for you. Dennis, you exemplify what service to community means, and we're grateful for everything that you've done for our veterans and for our community. Thank you. Anthem is so fortunate to have such incredible veterans who are willing to participate in our events. We certainly appreciate and thank you for your continued support and assistance. A special thanks today to Major General Fields and our partners at the 50th Vietnam War Commemoration, and our dear partners, the Daisy Mountain Veterans, who assist us throughout the year here and who will be organizing the Memorial Day ceremony next May. We're grateful to our talented musicians from San Diego, United States Coast Guard Petty Officer First Class Daliger, our local musical theater of Anthem, and our newest partners, Operation Song from Nashville, Tennessee, who provided much of the music today. They meet with veterans and pair them with professional Nashville songwriters who turn their stories into song. Special thanks to the Sandra Day O'Connor High School Junior Air Force ROTC cadets and their leader, Master Sergeant Beatty. We want to extend our thanks to the Daughters of the American Revolution, Ocotillo chapter, for volunteering here today and for providing our first national marker. Thank you. We're incredibly grateful to a teacher at Boulder Creek High School, Christy Johnston, who is an Army veteran herself. Christy graciously accepted our call again this year and had her media production students assist in creating many of the photo montages that you saw that accompanied music today. We thank Youth for Troops, Boulder Creek High School National Honor Society leaders Jennifer Newton and Ryan Donovan, and Great Hearts Academy soccer team and their leader Rick Hall, and all of our volunteers who assisted yesterday and today. And you know, a ceremony of this magnitude cannot go on without some financial assistance. And so we would like to acknowledge our key sponsors, the Arizona Department of Veterans Services, and Dr. Anthony and Mrs. Shannon Gleckler. As there are now 3,000 more pavers available to honor the veterans in your lives, please stop at the information table to find out more about getting a paver for your loved one. We truly appreciate all of those who worked so hard to make this ceremony special, including the council directors who volunteered today and the Anthem Community Council staff. And to all of you, those of you who came from near and those of you who came from far, to honor our veterans and make today special, thank you. The memorial will remain closed for just a few minutes more, and we ask your patience until we get the stanchions lowered, at which time you can approach the monument. Please come only through the sidewalk entrances, and remember not to step on the glass mosaic of the Great Seal of the United States. If you're a Vietnam War era veteran and you did not get a chance to get your commemorative pin, the Daisy Mountain veterans will be happy to return to the tables and assist you over there today. Most importantly, we're grateful to our veterans, as well as those men and women serving today and our military families, for your service and your sacrifice. We honor you, we salute you, we support you. Thank you all so much for joining us today. This concludes our ceremony, and happy Veterans Day.